Hello everyone, and welcome back again. In this video, we're going to talk about percentage, equivalent fractions, and decimal. So let's start with the percentage first. So first, let us understand what is a percent. A percent is a special fraction. It's a fraction only that always has the bottom number as 100. So no matter what the top number be, the bottom number will be always 100. So we know that in a fractions there are top and bottom number, right? So in a percent, we have the bottom number as 100 always. And the top number can be any number, but the bottom will be always 100. That is percent. So since the bottom number is always 100, so instead of writing it, instead of just using this 100, we can use it like this by using a simple sign. That is, we call it the percent. So this is your percent sign. We use this percent. Instead of using 100 as the bottom number, that is 3 over 100, we can write it in this way. That is 3%. So know that if you see, whenever you see the sign and then before the sign, whenever you see a number, know that this is your percent number. That is 3%. So we can write it in this way. That is, I can write 15% as 15 over 100. And then I can write it in this way also. That is 25%. I can write it as 25 over 100. So this is your percent number. This is your percent, and this is your fraction number, right? And then we can write it in a decimal form also. How do we write in decimal form is that this is your 15 by over 100, so I'm going to write 15 and then count two numbers from the back, 1, 2, and put a point and 0. So that is your decimal number. So we can change it like this. So 15%, when we change into fraction number, we just write as 15 over 100. So percent, that is, the word par is for each, and then cent means 100. So 15%, when we write into fraction form, we write as 15 over 100, and then in decimal form, count two numbers from the back and put a point, and then since before this point, nothing is there, so we put 0. So that makes 0.15. Alright? Whenever the fraction, suppose if the decimal number is given, from decimal number, if we change it into fraction, we will write it as 0.15, we will write it as 15 over 100. And then when from fraction, if we change into percent, 15 over 100 means 15%. That is 25%. When we change into fraction, we will write as 25 over 100. And then when we change into decimal form, we can write it as 0.25. Two numbers from the back and put a point. Right? Now, next we have the equivalent fractions. So what's an equivalent fraction? Equivalent fractions represent the same amount or same value. They will have two different numbers, that is for the top and the bottom number will be different, but the value will be same. So to get an equivalent fraction, what we do is we multiply the top and the bottom number by the same number. We multiply top and the bottom number by the same number to get an equivalent fraction. Here we have 6 by 10, right? And then the other way to get the equivalent fractions is we divide it. We divide both the top and the bottom number by same number to get an equivalent fractions. So let's take an example. Let's take an example. Suppose 1 by 2 and 2 by 4. This two fractions is an equivalent fractions. How do we know that this is an equivalent fractions? Here I have this fraction number as 1 and 2, and here 2 and 4. So the number, the fractions number is not same, but how do we know that this is an equivalent fractions? Because 2 by 4 and 1 by 4, the value, even though the number is different, the value is same. So how do we do is 2 and 4, I know that this 2 and 4 is in two table, right? So I divide this both down and up and down number by the same number, that is 2. So when I divide it, I get 2, 1 is 2, right? And then 2, 2 is 4. So 2, 1 is 2, 2, 2 is 4. So I got the answers as 1 by 2. So this 2 by 4, if I break it, that is, if I divide both top and bottom number by the same number, I get the answers as 1 by 2. So here this fractions is 1 by 2. So that means I can say that 1 by 2 and 2 by 4 are equivalent fractions. So we're going to do some of the exercises from your textbook. Now let's start with some of the questions from your exercise. So we'll practice this first one. That is, the first question says, write these fractions as percentage. So your questions is given in percent. We're going to change it into percentage, okay? So we have learned that percent means it's a fraction and then it has a bottom number as 100 always, right? So we have this bottom number as 100. So I can write, that is 13 over 100, I can write as 13%. So 13% means the bottom, and then know that a percent is a fraction that has the bottom number as 100 always. The top number may be different, but the bottom number will be 100. So since the bottom number here in this fractions is 100, so I can change it like this, 13 over 100, I can write it as 30%. Or I can do it in other way is that, what I can do is, to make it into percent, that is 13 over 100, we will multiply it by 100% to get the percentage answers. So 13 by 100 multiply 100. Sometimes the bottom number might be different, not 100. Okay, so in that case you can multiply and then find the percentage number. So the other way to find the percentage is multiply by 100%. Okay, so we have 100 and 100. This top number is 100 and down number here is 100. Same, so we can cut it. So remaining is what? 30%. Alright? So instead of doing it in this way, we can write straight away that is 13 by 100. Since the bottom number is 100, so we can write it as 13%. Alright? Now here the second number also has the bottom number as 100. So know that in a fractions, if the bottom number is 100 means we can change it as 23%. When we change it into percent, we can straight away write the number and put the percent sign. Okay? Now next is find 10% of these quantities. So we are going to find 10% of this quantities, that is 40. So how do we find? So it says 10% of this 40. So what will be the value? 10% of this 40. So how do we find 10% of 40? So I know that 10% means 10%, change it into fraction first. So when we change into fraction, the bottom number will be always 100. So 10%, so 10 over 100. Off means you put the multiplication sign and then write this 40 over here. Done? So next step is, here I have this 0, single 0, up and then single 0 down. You can cut it, same 0, 0. And I have another here 0 on the top and 0 down here, one more 0. So I can cut it. So what remains is 4, right? So 4 and 1, so 4 into 1 is 4. So your answer is 4. Done? Now next question says 70 centimeter. So we'll change this one. We're going to find 10% of the 70. So we write 10% of 70. So 10% of 70 is 10% means 10 over 100. Multiply 70. So we will do the same thing. 1 0 up, 1 0 down, cut it, and then 1 0 up here, and this 1 0 down. So what remains is 7. So our answer is 7. So that's how we find the quantities. Okay, that is for 10% of these quantities of this number, that is 40 and 70. Now let's go to these word problem questions. It says 80% of the learners in year 5 won an award for good attitude in all lessons. So here it says 80% of the learners has won an award. And then it says there are 100 learners. So we have 100 learners. So out of 100 learners, 80% of the learners has won an award. So here the question says, how many learners won an award? So we have to find out how many learners won an award. So here they have given an answer, here they have given in terms of percentage. It says 80% of the learners has won an award. So we're going to find how many learners has won an award. So it says 80% of the learners has won an award. So we write 80% of learners. We have how many learners? 100 learners. So we write as 100. And then 80% means 80 over 100, right? and then off means multiply 100. So I have 100 on the top and 100 down. So I will cut it, done. So here remaining is how much? 80. So that means how many learners has won an award? 80 learners has won an award. So we will do one more questions from your exercise. We have here it says in a cell the marked price are reduced by 10%. How much would be taken off the sale item? So we have a book price at 7.50 and this price is reduced by 10%. So what will be the price? We have to find out. Then here we have the jacket price is 65. So 10%, this 10% of 65 is how much? Let's find out. So the price has been reduced, so let's find out 10% of this amount is how much, okay? So first let's go for the book price. We have 7.50, right? It says 10% is reduced, so 10% of 7.50. So how do we find? 10% means we write as 10 over 100. Off means multiply 7.50. Now here what do we have to do is, here we have one single zero top and one single zero down. Done? And then remaining what we have is, we have 7.50 and then 10, right? So how do we write the answers? We do as, since the bottom number we have 10 and in 10 we have single zero, so we will count forward. For backward we will count. So the point is here and we have, in the 10 we have single zero, so this point will move back. So one number back, so the point will come in front of 7 and remaining 5. After the point, 0 is there, but after the decimal, we need to have two digits number. So we will write just 7 and 5, and before this point, nothing is there, so we write as 0. So that means after 10% discount, the price of this book is how many dollars? $0.75. Okay? Now, let's go to this next one, number B. It says jacket price is 65. So 10% of 65 is how much? Let's find out. So 10% means 10 over 100 of 65. So let's cut one single zero up and one single zero down. So remaining is 65 over 10. So how do we do? So we have 10 in 10 single zero, so we will count one number from the back, one number and put the point. So that means the answer is $6.05. 6.5. Know that? When there is a decimal point is there, when you count, here 10, we have single zero, so we will count from this point onward, one number, and then one number back, and then we will put the point. Okay? Now, next we have this question. This question is also taken from your exercise. That is, we have the fraction number, and then decimal and percentage is missing. We have to find out the decimal and the percentage. And then the second one is percentage is given, decimal and fraction numbers are missing. We have to find out. So how do we find? How do we change into decimal first? Now we have the fraction number, that is 3 by 10. So to change into decimal, we have the down number as 10, that is single zero. So we will count single number 1 and put the point and put a 0. Done? And then to get this percentage, how do we have to do is, from fraction, let's change it into percentage. To change into percentage, what we have learned is we will multiply, right? 10. If it is 100, we can easily straight away write as 3%. But this is down, bottom number is 10. So we will multiply by 100. So single zero, up and down. So we have 3 and 10 left. That is 3 times 10 is 30. So we write as 30%. Done? Now next we have 10%. Let's change it into decimal form. So before we change it into decimal form, let's change it into fraction. So 10% means, we know that it's 10 over 100, right? Because of this percent. So 10% is 10 over 100. And to change into decimal, what we have to do is, we have 10, right? We'll count 2 numbers from the back, 100. We have 100, 2 zeros. So 2 numbers from the back, 1, 2, and put a point. And then before the point, nothing is there, so we put a point. So that's how we change from percentage to decimal and fraction, right? From fraction to decimal, percentage, and from percentage to decimal and fraction. So we will do one more questions from your exercise. Now let's try out these questions. This question says, this diagram contains an equivalent fraction, decimal, and percentage. So this diagram in this figure, we have it contains the equivalent fractions, decimal, and percentage. So equivalent fraction we're going to write here, and percentage number we're going to write here. So we have the decimal number. We have to find out for the percentage and for the equivalent fraction, that is the fraction number. Okay? So let's find out. Here the decimal number is given as 0.2. So after the point, we have single only. So let's make it into 2. So if I make it into 2, let's make 2 0, right? And then we have learned that after the point, okay, after the point, here we have two numbers. So I can write it as 20%, right? Because from 20%, if I change it into fraction, 20% will become as 20 over 100, right? And then when we change it into decimal, we count two numbers from the back and then put the point, right? So we have here two numbers from the back, and point is there, right? So I can use it, this 0.20 as 20%. So I'll write here 20%. Okay? This 20%, when I change it into decimal form, it comes like this 0.20, right? So 0.20, I'll take it as 20%. And this 20%, I'll change it into a fraction, equivalent fraction. Fraction number, but it should be equivalent. So 20%, if I change it into fraction, that becomes 20 over 100. 20%, so 20 over 100. So I'll break down this number into smaller number. That is single zero up, single zero down. Since the number is big, I can break down this number into smaller number. So I have 2 and 10. So to find equivalent fraction, we divide up and bottom number by same number, right? So I'm going to divide it by same number. So 2 and 10 is in two tables. So I'm going to use two tables to divide this 2 and 10. That is 2, 1 is 2, and then 2, 5 is 10. So I got 1 by 5. So I write 1 over 5 for this fraction number. Now let's go with this one. Here in this circle, I have this number. Using this circle, we have to find out the fraction and the decimal number. Okay? So how do we do? You have to take the fraction number in such a way that your decimal answer should be from this number which is inside this circle. So what am I going to do is, I'm going to take this 4 and 8, that is 4 and 8, that is the proper fraction number. So I'll use this 4 and 8. Let's see whether I get the decimal number exactly which is inside this circle. So to find the decimal number, what am I going to do is, I'm going to take this 8, I'm going to take this 4 and divide it by this down number. When you divide, the down number will divide this upper number, okay? So since this number is less, that is 4, and this number is big, so I'm going to use the point and then bring down 1 0. So that's my 2 digits number. Now this number is big. So when I read the table of 8, I know that 8, 5 is 40, right? And minus it, you got 0. So that means your answer is 0.5, right? And before this point, nothing is there, so we can put 0. So that makes 0.5. Do I have 0 and 5? Yes, I have 0 and 5. So that is 0.5. Done? So this way, you have to make sure, know that, you have to take the number in such a way that when you divide, your answer's number should be inside the circle only. Now, let's find out this last question. That is, it says, find the odd one out. Now, let's find out which one is odd one, okay? So we have first number is 5 over 10. So 5 over 10, I'm going to break this into simplest form. I'm going to break this number into small number. 5 and 10 is in 5 table, so I'm going to break it by dividing by 5, each top and the bottom number by 5. That is 5, 1 is 5, 5, 2 is 10. So I got the value of 5 by 10 as 1 by 2. What about this 50%? So 50% means 50 over 100, right? Now up number and down number, same number, cut it. So what remains is 5 and 10 again, 5 and 10 again. So I'm going to use the same table, 5, 5, 1, 5, 5 to 10. So the value is same, 1 by 2, 1 by 2. Now what about this next number? I have 3 by 6, 3 over 6. 3 and 6 is in the table of 3. that is 313 and 326. That means same value. The numbers, the fraction numbers are different, but the value, the answers is same, right? What about 0.1? 0.1, if I will write it as 0.1 after the point, since only one digit is here, so I'll make it into 2 digits by putting 0, so that's make 2 digits. So 0.10, I can write it as 10 over 100, right? So after the point we have 2 digits, so 10 over 100. So we'll take this as 10, 0.10. When you convert it in fraction, we write as 10 over 100, right? So I'll cut it 0 up and 0 down. So remaining is 1 by 10. That means all these 3 numbers values are same, except this last one answers is 1 by 10 we got, right? So that means the odd one is 0.1. So that's how we find out the odd one. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening. See you in the next video.